Put your money where your mouth is. Hi, I'm Dr. ATHRÉ with ATHRÉ Facial Plastics in Houston, Texas. I'm a double board certified facial plastic surgeon. One of the prior videos that I've put out here on YouTube and through most of my social media channels is how Morpheus sucks. I am not going to recant on those words. However, I'm actually going to go forth and actually promote this just a little bit more. So we have established that many of the non-invasive and especially the radio frequency type treatments that offer this amazing facelift type result are just not worth their grain of salt. So why is it that lots of surgeons and lots of medical providers continue to buy these machines and offer these treatments? So let's dive into this just a little bit more. Hopefully my goal from this video is that to educate the public just a little bit more and also have other practitioners in my field join this movement. I've already seen many other practitioners on their Instagram channels kind of put similar content out here. Therefore, I'm kind of joining that group and hopefully giving other practitioners the little oomph to keep down this road. One of the things that's been told to us many times as we go to many of our surgical conferences and such like that is, what about the patient that doesn't quite need a facelift yet? Or what about the patient who doesn't want a facelift just quite yet? These are great questions. However, I'm going to take this question from a slightly different standpoint. Let's take, for example, anything else, okay? A patient who's not quite ready for thyroid medication. Would you prescribe this patient thyroid medication just because she's in your office? What about the patient who's not quite ready for hormone replacement therapy because she's not quite at the point of menopause? Would you prescribe this patient hormone replacement therapy? So if the answer to both of these questions is no, why don't we accept that same logic when it comes to surgery? If a patient is not quite ready for a facelift or doesn't want a facelift, maybe you just shouldn't offer that to her. Simple. Just because the patient is not quite ready for a facelift doesn't mean that we need to offer her this other treatment that is potentially damaging and subpar just because we want to sell her something. This type of mentality is something that is very important, dear to my heart. First of all, before I became a plastic surgeon, before I became a surgeon, before I did any of these things, I was a doctor first. So one of the things that I've really understood, especially with all of the fake news and all of these things that are going on in today's political climate, there are certain what I call pillars of truth. So when we want information, we go to these sources in order to get unbiased information. It is imperative that if you are a professional in one of these categories, that the information that you provide is clear, concise, unbiased, and 100% correct. In my opinion, when a physician comes out here on Instagram or YouTube or any of these other modalities, it is imperative that the information being provided is clear, concise, and 100% correct and bias-free. And the reason for that is as we're talking and as we are providing information to the public is looking at this information and taking this information as the truth. Very seldom does this public actually go and fact check all of this information. Therefore, it is imperative that we make our points in a clear manner. If it is an opinion, say it's an opinion. If it is the truth, say it is the truth, and keep that information bias-free. So, in the case of surgeons who talk on one hand about Morpheus not being good for a facelift, and on the other hand, offer Morpheus in their office, that kind of creates a little bit of confusion in the public's mind. So is Morpheus good or not? If it is being offered at the office, you're assuming that it is an appropriate treatment. However, if you really believe that Morpheus is not an appropriate treatment, don't provide it at your office. I think that the logic is pretty simple. This is the reason why we don't provide Morpheus at our office. Everything we provide here is something that I believe in. I will agree that I continue to up my game. I will continue to research new therapies, new modalities, and test these therapies and modalities against time-tested techniques. However, if it doesn't match up or it creates more problem than it's worth, frankly, I don't think it's worth offering to my patients, because my patients expect the very best from me. So this is what I mean by put your money where your mouth is. You can't go ahead and offer something on one hand and speak badly about it on the other. That just doesn't make sense. So therefore, to the public out there, I really hope that this information has been helpful and it gives you some insight into the way that I think and the way that I run my practice. To the surgeons out there, I hope that this is a wake-up call to you. What we say needs to be worth its weight in gold. That is our moral and ethical responsibility. Therefore, what we provide has to match that same moral and ethical responsibility level. So to everyone out there, thank you so much for listening. If you found this content helpful, please give us a like or hit the subscribe button. If you want to hear more content like this, give us some ideas. Send us comments, send us questions. We love hearing about it. Till next time, I'm Dr. Raghu ATHRÉ, ATHRÉ Facial Plastics, Houston, Texas.